Noah Lyles has been in the media quite a bit lately, and as far as I can tell, he appears to be on a podcast tour. Granted, we are still waiting to watch him run his first 100 of the 2025 season. But while he keeps talking on these podcasts, there's been so much chatter on the internet, and I have contributed to it, that his original point, and I have to give a shout out to Anderson Emerald of The Final Leg for putting this out there. Noah Lyles does have some points he's been making. And as the comment sections and, I guess the podcast themselves and the reactions and the reactions to the reactions, like with everything going down, people are starting to lose what the actual point is. Noah Lyles, when he's been talking all these times, he keeps saying some version of the same thing. And a lot of it tracks back to that track and field needs help. The sport itself needs help. Now, he is American, so he's saying this from the American perspective. And so many things have happened this week, like just this week, that I figure you deserve to know about it. Because, well, if I don't tell you, I guess nobody else will. So this video is one that I, had no intention of making. Yes, this is one of those moments. But because I just had a bunch of ideas and a bunch of things that were, I guess bothering me enough where I figured I'm just going to air them out, I'm going to do this entirely off of memory. Because when Noah Lyles says that the sport needs to develop and we need professionalism and so on and so forth, there are so many different levels to what he's saying that I'm starting to think that most people aren't, either they don't want to see the truth or like maybe it's like been hidden from them, but some of this stuff is hiding in plain sight. So I'm just going to get into it. For the record, before I even decided to talk about this, what I was first thinking about, so this is the first thing that happened, was the Brooks PR Invitational. Stay with me on this if you don't care that much about high school track and field. Because the Brooks PR Invitational it's not a national championship meet, but it might as well be. Because even though it's, from what I understand, more or less heavy on the track side, you have some of the top athletes in the country who go out there to compete. And I could tell you about Braden Deshaun Williams, the fastest high school boy who, under all conditions, in the 100, he went out there and he won. Or, Jane Hedengren and what she did in the 2 mile because she had broken national records. Like, all of that happened. Yeah, that's real. But that's not what I'm here to focus on. Because all these kids are flying around the country to go to the Brooks PR Invitational or soon to be the Nike Outdoor Nationals, New Balance Nationals. Like, all these things are about to happen. But there's one meet in particular that, I guess you could say it's a little bit more important than all the rest of them. It's the USA Junior meet. Now, when we say USA Juniors, it's the, under 20 championship. It's supposed to come soon. And all these athletes, all these high school kids who are trying to get recruited by the highest level and so on. Again, you're going to see why this relates to what Noah is saying. Because he runs for USATF. The same people who, hold the USA Junior meet. Or again, USA under 20, however you're supposed to say it. And apparently, they're going to have a USA under 20 meet this year. But when they do, Team USA decided, like USATF, that they're not going to send athletes to the event. And that alone is an interesting decision because it's something that I'm sure the athletes were looking forward to. But there's more to the story. Because somebody in the comment section said what a lot of people were thinking. They said, just admit you're broke already. Hey, that's the comment. I'll screenshot it and put it up so not me talking to what they said. Now, because here's the thing. Like, just to put this all out there, USA Track and Field is a non-profit entity. And remember, when we talk about the professionalism of the sport and pro track and having a league, just remember, USA Track and Field is a non-profit. It's the reason why you might have seen a commercial, maybe if you were watching like the Peacock stream or something for Grand Slam track. USA Track and Field had a commercial there where they're advertising. But they're not selling a product. They're actually advertising for you to donate to them. Come and support the athletes. And again, it's not just about USA Track and Field. It was USA, like the US Olympic Committee, but like there's track and field athletes on the commercial. It's all within the same parameters, like all under the same umbrella. This alone is one thing, because those athletes, instead of going international, I think they're going to go to like a seminar or something, which, hey, international track and field trip for the best athletes in the world versus go to a seminar. You try selling that to some high school kids, just saying. But on another level, because remember, this is just one thing I'm talking about. This isn't the first thing that they've already canceled this year. USA Track and Field was also going to host the New York City Grand Prix. And whether you pay attention to that meet or not, because Noah Lyles himself, Sha'Carri Richardson in the past, like these athletes have been there. Even Sydney McLaughlin-Lavroni has been there. But this year, they ain't going to have one. There won't be a New York City Grand Prix. And again, You could call this a coincidence, but because I know that USA Track and Field has been struggling financially, it starts to make a whole lot of sense when they're actually canceling events. So again, this is one thing that happened. Because remember, Noah's been trying to tell us the sport needs help. And that when he says this is an amateur sport, or this is one example, but I can keep going. But if you're new here, I want to say thank you for even making it this far into the video. And I'm Coach Rob, and if you really want to know what's going on with the fastest athletes in the world, then you are in the right place. And if anything that I say actually connects with you, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe. But if I don't, just let me know in the comment section, because I try to read them all. NCAA, put down a ruling, and I already talked about this, no need to share all my thoughts on it, but I'm going to give you one quote, and it's not a quote coming from me, and it ain't even coming from the track community, that with the NCAA's new revenue share model, like the new revenue share situation about how the money's going to go down and who's going to get what. I tried to tell you that track and field has nothing to do with this. Like, the track athletes are not going to, certainly not as a group in D1, get uplifted by this, but very few people are going to profit in any way from it. So Paul Feinbaum, who works for ESPN, this is, again, one quote. I could give you more. I could tell you what Doug Gottlieb said, or, I could tell you what Jay Billis said. I'm going to skip over. I'm not going to waste your time with all these people from outside the track community about what they understand about to go down as football, basketball folk. But this is what Paul Feinbaum said, who represents ESPN. He says exactly these words. He says, this decision is a win for college football. Then he says, this decision is going to be probably a slight step back for college basketball. Then he says, women's sports are going to get hurt. And on top of that, he says, Olympic sports are going to be crushed. That's what he said. He even added this part. He said, if you're a fan, he's talking football now. If you're a fan of a midline program or one that's outside the Power 4 conferences, hey, just get ready for hard times. He said all of that, and he said it with no shame and a whole lot of conviction. Where do you think track and field falls in that equation? Clearly they fall into the Olympic sports, the ones that are about to get crushed. So when we have Brooks PR going off on one end, and you have all these high school kids who are trying to figure out where they're going to get recruited, how they're going to get recruited, which program they're going to go to, you do realize that there are a whole bunch of Division I track teams right now who have no idea, one, if they're going to have a team in the future, certainly in the distant future, two, how many athletes are going to be on it, how much scholarship money they're going to have. Like, all of these things are up in the air. And we don't know if they're ever coming back down, just to be real. So, okay, that's the second thing that happened. And now you look at the NCAA championships, because you got to know where we're already at. Again, Noah Lyles didn't run in college. Just saying. He didn't need to. And, okay, I'm actually going to give you another quote and blend it into this whole situation. Because Noah Lyles didn't run in college, but we all identify him with Team USA. USATF, the same folk who are canceling events as they try to figure out their finances. Again, they're a nonprofit, just saying. If you look at what Jay Billis said, because Jay Billis, who represents basketball, again, works for ESPN and so on, like, that's really his focus, college basketball, he was like, hey, we got to pay the athletes. The athletes need to get paid. They deserve it. And when he says the athletes, he's talking about football and basketball, specifically at the schools that are really good at it and drive revenue. And in response to, well, what's going to happen to the Olympic sports? I'm going to be honest. In the interview he did, he just flat out didn't even answer the question. He just avoided the answer. But what he did say is, when people make arguments that by paying these athletes, football and basketball, that because we do that, these other sports are not going to be able to survive, I just think that's a weak argument. He said, I think that's something where the feds should get involved. I'm not making this up. That's what he said. In other words, he's like, maybe the government should make sure that track and field stays alive. In the full context that they were talking about, how is Team USA, like USATF, track and field specifically, or like sports like that, how are they going to survive if the NCAA system that supports these sports crumbles? Like, for the most part, these teams aren't in the same place or where they used to be. Jay Billis is saying, basically, forget track and field. We can figure out how to put people on the Olympic team some other way. Forget the track and field. We don't need college track as long as the basketball and football players are getting paid. That was his actual answer. His answer wasn't track kids will benefit this way or they'll get none of that. None of that. That was not his idea. It wasn't his response. So Okay, I'm going to move off of this because the NCAA championships are going down right now. And I'm going to tell you how all of that, like, again, if you look closely, you can see what I'm talking about. Like, where the sport is. So I'm going to first step back. Pat Henry was the head coach for Texas A&M. Shout out to him. He was, there was an interview or something that he must have been asked. I saw a screenshot. Again, I'll try to share it, if I can dig it up and put it on the camera or, put it in the video. Long story short, he was like, hey, the sport needs to move to a place where, basically, if for college track to survive, we need teams to compete against teams. It's a team sport, team A versus team B. Like, that's the way it should be. And Texas A&M used to do dual meets. I know this for a fact. I believe I saw footage of a Texas A&M LSU dual meet indoors years ago. I think it was like right around when I was still in college. So we're talking like early, maybe like 2010, 2011, something like that. All of that being said, now we're at the NCAA championships where his program is represented. And I'm looking at, again, the men's day. And I'm just going to, again, just for argument's sake, because I pay attention to all the events, but for argument's sake, I'm going to focus on the sprints. I'm looking at the meet. Looking at the 100, the 200, the 400. I'm looking at the qualifiers, and especially if you just lock it down to the 1-2 and the 4x1 or the 4x4s. So let's go 1-2, 4x1, because those events go together. You basically find out that we're watching a national championship meet for Division I, but we're really not. We're just watching a few schools from like 2 conferences go at it. That's it. Again, I'm rattling this off from memory. Again, from memory. The only non-SEC program that stands out for the most part is USC. The only non-power conference program that stands out is South Florida. They're in the American Conference, which for the record is actually trying to figure out how they're going to do revenue share. Like, they're the only non-power conference that's saying they're going to attempt to do it at a higher level and like put some parameters in place to push their programs to do it. Either way, USC, South Florida, they're not in the SEC. But after those 2 programs, when you talk about speed, like the results, it all comes down to the following. Auburn, Tennessee, LSU, Arkansas, again, all of these are SEC programs. You can now throw Kentucky in there. I mean, this is who you're going to see. That's it. You look at the 100 who made it to the finals. You had multiple athletes from several different schools. LSU, Auburn, and Tennessee all put 2 athletes in the 100-meter final. USC also put 2. They had 5 guys entered in the 100 who showed up to the NCAAs. That's a whole nother thing. But they're representing the Big Ten. And then, even though Arkansas only has 1 man who makes it to the NCAA 100 final, Jordan Anthony. I mean, everybody saw that coming. The thing is, Arkansas is in the 4x1. And they're in the 4x4. And they're in the final. So clearly he ain't running by himself. So if you're a recruit and you're looking up, like, it's clearly, we're already living in a track and field world. Here's the point. We're already living in a world that's severely imbalanced, where we've got like almost 300 men's teams or so, more than 300 women's teams, but we really don't. Again, when it comes to winning at the national level, it's like 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 10 programs. 2025, if you want to start getting real liberal with what we mean by competitive and what I actually mean by winning. But it's really not that many programs. And this same college track and field world that's already imbalanced is about to be attacked. That's what it is. It's going to be attacked. Where the chips fall is where the chips are going to fall. Noah Lyles is representing the pro side. He didn't even mess with all this college stuff. He ran in high school, but again, that's before we got to the world that we're in now with as many big meets. And again, the pro circuit itself he's really focused on why that needs to fix itself. And we can take issue with how, or people have their own opinions. I know I do, about what he should or shouldn't do using his platform and specifically how he competes or how the needle can move. But we can't fix problems if we don't admit that we have one. Noah Lyles is in the game. He's going to the Olympics. He's going to the Worlds. He's doing all these things. Did them at a high level. He's already got his medals. He's made a whole bunch more money in the sport than almost anybody could ever dream of, which is saying a lot. Because yes, he makes a lot of money, but not compared to other athletes in other sports. Like, just being real. Like, pick any prominent sport in America. He's nowhere near what a top tier athlete in those sports would make. So he still has a viable argument to make that we need to get to a different place. The question is, how do we get from where we are to where we need to go? Because this is my opinion, because the pro structure of track is so bootleg, sorry, just being real, it's just not the way it should be. It's not the way it could be, but nobody really knows how to get it to that place collectively. Because when everybody's not rowing in the same direction, things don't work. Just saying, they don't work out. But because that looks like it does, everything else looks so confusing because everything else feeds into it. So whatever's at the top is going to set the curve. You can make your model and focus it on the Olympics or the Worlds. You could do that. But because they're amateur competitions that are trying to be inclusive, guess what's the enemy of inclusion? Profitability. Just saying. You can find ways to do both, but you have to do both by keeping the main thing the main thing. College track right now is not inclusive and it's not profitable. How did that work? We got a national championship meet where it's really just a few schools going at it, more or less from the same conference. I guess you could add the Big Ten as like a second tier. I mean, the Big 12, they mix it up, especially when you get away from the sprints. I mean, they have some things happening in the sprints, but for the most part, not this year. Certainly not on the men's side. But in general, like high school, college, pro, we've got issues all around. Noah Lyles has been trying to sound the alarm. I want to see him race, and I know most people want to see him race too. If he is a pro track athlete, I'm going to make a crazy argument. Pro track athletes should probably run in pro races. And since he says that the Olympics and the Worlds are technically not pro events, which I agree, if you read the definition of what they actually are, that's not really 100% accurate. They're not. Then yes, I do want to see him in pro races. Grand Slam track, Diamond League. I don't really care where you go. But I do want it to be a paid professional event. Outside of what he says are the amateur events. But this is what it is. So I know this video is a little bit more discombobulated. I didn't have time to, react to NCAA's directly. Probably will get around to it. I mean, I'm gonna, probably, keep an eye on what's happening this weekend. But Noah Lyles, I mean, we can have discussions about how he said things and whether or not what he should or shouldn't be doing around it, like competing or joining GST or Grand Slam track or anything like that. Like, I get it. All of those are valid discussions. But it doesn't change the fact that the actual points he's making aren't bad. They're actually pretty sound. His conclusions, there's the assessment of the problem. I think he hits that dead on the head. If you're actually listening, his conclusions, I think that's where a lot of the debate comes from, including the conclusions for what his role is in all of this. But we got to see this for what it is. And if you are a recruit who's trying to compete in college right now, you really need to be paying attention because you just might be focusing on, trying to get recruited by a program that might not even be there in the future. Just saying. In the sport of track and field, confidence is everything because when you win, that is just the moment when everybody else finds out what you already knew to be true, that fast is a lifestyle. Get your fast is a lifestyle track and field gear at scarecruiting.com/shop or use the link in the description below. It's a huge support to me and this channel so I can continue to make you more content like this. And remember, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe.